Have you ever found yourself ready to say no and felt no urge to justify? The silence that follows that can feel really unsettling at first, but here's a twist. When the need to explain melts away, it's not rudeness, it's a sign that you're coming home to yourself. I know because I used to narrate every boundary that I set, thinking approval would keep me safe. And when I stopped, everything changed. For years, I thought that if I could just say it the right way, if I could explain myself clearly enough, I'd finally be safe. But every essay-length boundary message I sent was still rooted in fear. Like fear of being misunderstood, fear of being seen as selfish, fear of being exiled again. But eventually something cracked. Not all at once, but gradually, I stopped writing the long paragraphs. I stopped managing other people's reactions. And it shocked me because I didn't feel numb. I actually felt more steady. And that moment when explaining stops being necessary is the most consistent sign that I see that something is like integrating in me. The survival role is loosening its grip. And knowing that my truth no longer needs a performance is everything to me. So let's name what most spiritual teachings skip over, which is that survival strategy of explaining. So if you're raised in a home or you existed in any relational system where your truth was routinely diminished or twisted or punished, then you learned early that clarity did not come naturally to you. It had to be earned. It had to be defended. It had to be justified. So you learned to over-explain, to soften, to anticipate how your words might be received and adjust them accordingly. Not because you were weak, but because that's how you stayed safe. And it often worked. So you avoided punishment. You soothed the room. You kept things functional, but you paid a price. The abandonment of your own clarity is the price for all that explaining. And that's why when this pattern starts to dissolve, it can actually feel strange or even wrong. You might wonder, am I shutting down? Am I becoming avoidant? Am I just tired? But this is not regression. This is regulation. The nervous system no longer believes that you need to perform to belong. Your values are shifting. Your truth is no longer a fragile object that needs constant defense. It's becoming a frequency that you live in and not an argument to prepare. That's a radical shift. because it means that you're not negotiating your right to exist anymore. You're simply existing. So let's name this clearly. So the urge to explain is externalized energy. It's the belief that your peace depends on their understanding, that your choice only becomes valid if they nod along. But when you start coming home to yourself, something different emerges. You begin to own your reality. And ownership doesn't mean that you have to get aggressive or cold. It doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It just means that you stop outsourcing your center of gravity. You stop answering questions that they're not really asking you. You stop negotiating with people who've already decided who you are. You stop translating your clarity into a language they're unwilling to learn. And here's what's wild, is that when you own your truth like that, some people actually fall away. And others start respecting you. But most importantly, you begin to respect yourself. You become a clearer mirror for other people. And that can be a lot for some people to handle because they don't like what's in the mirror. And it can actually be really helpful for other people that do like what they see in the mirror, and not in an egotistical way, but because your light is shining more brightly so others can begin to see the light in themselves. And in this way, the healing is like a cyclical thing for the people that are ready. But for the people that are not ready, the universe has a way of natural filtration and energy matching. So the people that are meant to be in your circle right now will just start to figure that process will just start to figure itself out. But this moment where you start to respect yourself again, or maybe for the first time, it's amazing because there's no longer a gap between what you know and what you say. And that congruence is freedom. So, what does this look like in practice? How do you start living from a place where explanation is optional? Well, first, it's important to just pause before responding. Start to ask yourself, am I speaking to clarify or am I speaking to manage? That question alone can reveal everything. Second, express privately before externally. So you're journaling, you're using voice notes, you're letting the full wave of your truth move through you first. Because not every truth needs to be spoken aloud to be valid. And that discernment process can take some time at first. But eventually it becomes more natural. Third, it's important to simplify your language. So say, that doesn't work for me, or I'm not available for that. You don't need to decorate it with disclaimers. Just clean and simple. And when people's defenses start to come up, just allow it. So fourth, allow that silence to be part of your communication. Let them sit with it. Let the discomfort do its job. Because you're not responsible for processing their processing pace. You're not responsible for their inability or ability to process what you're saying, or what the relationship is turning into. All you can do is clean up your side of the street. And then fifth, just expand your capacity to be misperceived. So let people get it wrong. Let them project. Let them spin stories, and just stay rooted in what you know. These practices are not about becoming stoic, although stoicism is helpful to learn about. But it's more about just learning that stillness can hold more power than persuasion at times. So at the spiritual level, here's what's really happening. Your identity is decoupling from performance. You no longer require external mirrors to feel whole. You're becoming your own witness. And that means your energy stops reaching. Your presence stops leaking. You can rest in the knowing that clarity doesn't have to echo back to be real. And when you come home to self, you realize your presence is the transmission. Your boundary is not really so much the words, it's just your being. And when that becomes your baseline, then explanations start to lose their grip on their own, because you're not trying to be seen anymore. You're simply here. And that is the beautiful part about what true spiritual integration looks like. It's not noise. It's not proof. It's not perfection. It's just presence. If this is the moment where the old patterns that you're in of fawning, fixing, and over-explaining are starting to fall away, but the silence feels new or even strange, then I'd like to walk with you through it. So in my course, The Sovereignty Sequence, we hold and explore this exact threshold. It's a 6-phase journey of reclamation, moving from confusion and collapse into clarity and calm. If you're curious what stage of the path you're in, just comment below, send me the quiz, and I'll send you a free self-assessment that you can take to see what part of the process you're in. You do not need to go back. You do not need to explain. You just need a path that honors where you are. You don't need to convince anyone to feel grounded in what you already know. This is the return to yourself. Not flashy, not loud, just steady. So let it be quiet, let it feel strange, let it build, because you're not broken, you're reorganizing, and you're doing it without asking for permission. Keep going. And as always, may the shadow wane and the stardust through me.